Hey guys, so this is a video for fiscal policy. Fiscal policy, we divide it into two main components: automatic stabilizers and discretionary policies. So what is an automatic stabilizer? You break this down into two components. You have the transfer payments. So this might be an unemployment benefit. Could be anything that redistributes income from one person to another. So that's why it's called transfer. So it's a transfer of income. Automatic stabilizers, so you have transfer payments and you have the progressive tax system. Progressive tax system. So why is it automatic stabilizing? Because if the economy's in a recession, what's going to happen to the transfer payments? Transfer payments are going to increase because more people get unemployed. And the progressive tax system, remember that's when we have different tax brackets where you get taxed at a higher marginal rate when you make higher income. We were talking about the recession, so people are going to make less income, so they're going to move into lower marginal tax brackets, so progressive tax is going to decrease. Recalling aggregate demand, where G is net government expenditure, when you decrease taxes and you increase transfers, that increases net government expenditure. How do we show this? Price level, GDP, aggregate supply, aggregate demand, AD1. So we're going to have a shift right of the AD curve. We're going to show that as Y0 to Y1, and our price level is going to increase from P0 to P1. Anything where you need to show the impacts of fiscal policy, use this diagram. Okay, so we talked about automatic stabilizers. If I had to sum this up in one sentence, it is the components of fiscal policy which smooth out fluctuations in the business cycle without any need for government for specific legislation changes. So, component of fiscal policy, which reduces fluctuations, in the business cycle without the need for direct changes to legislation. So they kick in automatically. Let's move this a little bit. How can I move this? I can't move it. There we go. Discretionary policies. So discretionary policies require an act of Parliament. Fiscal policy, which requires an act of Parliament. When do we use discretionary policies? We use this if the economy is going really badly. So say in the GFC, we had a $50 billion fiscal stimulus. Kevin Rudd built a lot of schools. We had a lot of income transfers, so they gave money to the less wealthy. Income transfers. Why do you give money to people who are less wealthy? they're more likely to spend it. So your MPC is high, so the multiplier effect is going to be high. And he did a lot of public infrastructure. This all links back to net government expenditure. So when you do this in an essay, I'd like you to always link this to net government expenditure, link this to aggregate demand, and draw the diagram the first time. After you draw it the first time, you can just refer back to the diagram. You don't need to draw it again. So discretionary policies, we usually use this in recessions to say the economy is going really well. We don't usually use discretionary policies in that case. In that case, we just let automatic stabilizers kick in. Okay, that's a good summary of fiscal policy. Let's move on to how you might use this for essays. So, if you're doing it in an essay, you probably need, let's focus on this. Okay, you probably need more specific fiscal policies. So the best example of automatic stabilizers is just, you talk about these two, and you might talk about when they actually kicked into effect. So they kicked into effect during the GFC. I'm going to find the statistic for you. This is in my essay plans document. So let's see what happened. Beautiful. So this is examples for essays. So this is automatic stabilizers. Income tax receipts decreased by 12%. So let's call it income tax decreased by 12%, while unemployment transfers went up by 40%. They went up by 40%. So this allowed the budget to go from a surplus of 1.7% surplus to a 2.7% deficit. Again, you can fudge these numbers, just remember them roughly, maybe. You remember 2%, 3%. Not like the HSC markers actually know the actual percentage, so there's a bit of leeway there. So this is called an expansionary fiscal policy, where the opposite would be a contractionary. This is probably the best example of automatic stabilizers kicking in to stimulate the economy. So, discretionary policy. Discretionary fiscal policy. The example would be the RUD stimulus. So the 50 billion stimulus. I'm gonna give you some facts to make it seem like you know your stuff. So, I wrote this before. So there was schools. They built like school halls. Income transfer. And always relate this to the multiplier effect, right? So people with low incomes got the money, multiplier effect is high, MPC is high. This results in higher aggregate demand, high GDP, and so on. They also did insulation. They provided subsidies for insulation. Discretionary fiscal policy, and it was $50 billion. That's a good start.